message. This is not a drill.
So,
John Wayne died from the same thing.
So check this out. There's a bit of radiation that happens in all explosions, right? Every explosion releases some form of radiation. That shit dissipates. Why is it that there was no effects of long-term radiation explosion that happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? None. And
There
why
was.
is it? There was
raised
zero.
The acceptable. They raised the acceptable level of radiation rads that a human being can be exposed to. They raised it so you can ignore it.
So check this out.
Malicious on their end.
No. So check it out. Where did the level come from? Where did the acceptable level come from? How was it established?
By the Nuclear Commission, and each country has their own
not who
standard.
did it. Not who did it. How did they do it? Where did the number come from?
They used the testing instruments to test it.
What? So again, what were they testing?
Exposure. So you got.
Hey, let me help you out, bro. Let me help you out because you don't know. You don't know, bro. Because Galen Windsor actually talked about this as well. They made it the fuck up. They made up all the fucking all the parameters around how nuclear fucking waste is handled, how anything fucking related to nuclear weapons and all that shit is handled. He gave no wait, bro. You talking, you're talking. You're talking without knowing what you're talking about, bruh. You're talking without knowing what you're talking about, bruh. So what you're saying is,
your lifespan because you haven't lived yet.
My man, why are you talking? You're real emotional right now, bro, because you don't know what you're talking about. You're repeating what you were told without actually doing any fucking research and understanding of what you're saying. You're real emotional right now. I'm gonna need you to let go of your ego. I know what you were told. I do. But what I'm saying to you is, investigate where it comes from. What you'll find is that they made it up. There is no evidence. In Nagasaki and Hiroshima, there is no evidence of nuclear fucking fallout. None. If you weren't, as a matter of fact, if you really want to get into it, what you'll find is that all the damage that you see in Hiroshima and Nagasaki happened the night before the fucking bombing when they carpet bombed the goddamn cities, both of them. And there's fucking video of both them shits, and there's evidence of both of them. All the fucking damage and destruction you see is from the carpet bombing that happened the day before, and you see the exact same destruction in fucking cities that were carpet bombed that were not fucking Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And so there's no difference in the bomb that you in the aftermath of the bombs from Nagasaki and Hiroshima than in any other city that was bombed. Nothing.
So how do you explain the real time? For men, they had low sperm count, and women, they had low egg fertility. That was a study that was done with the population. That's why the population decreased.
Bro.
But isn't that happening now? They claim to us in the United States.
My G.
Right.
Yeah.
They're saying that we're going through that. Go ahead.
All of that shit happens because of the fucking toxins that's in the fucking environment, dog. That ain't got nothing to do with radiation. Because all of the poisons and all that shit that got into the goddamn water and got into the fish that had nothing to do with radiation. That's what's going on with fucking people in America. Is the toxins that's in the water and in the food. Not in the fucking, ain't nothing to do with no goddamn explosion, bro. That's why cancer is rising in America.
Yeah, whoa.
Talk that shit.
I'm just not going to compare. I'm not going to compare a nuclear power plant, which is low-grade plutonium, to weapons-grade plutonium. I'm not going to do it. You see the effects. You see the testing. It's real. There's no YouTube God.
So why? So let me ask you this: why is the foliage and all this shit, when it's supposed to be a desolate wasteland, and everything that's around it is supposed to be dying? Why is it a fucking animal sanctuary in Chernobyl right now? And they don't tell you about it. No, and no one ever said it should. All they tell you about Chernobyl is that it was the worst radiation, this, that, and the other. No one can live there. Nothing can grow there. That's the propaganda around Chernobyl. Except that's not the facts. Same thing when we see the places where they drop nuclear weapons. People started fucking rebuilding there and living there months later, and no fucking explosion of fucking cancer. We see no effects of fucking cancer after that shit. No effect of the fucking radiation. The evidence says differently, bro. I know what the rhetoric says. I know what the propaganda says. The evidence says something completely different. That's what I'm saying.
You wanna you still have something to say?
Well, it's the stuff that grows there. It's not edible for human consumption. That's it. It grows. Mother Nature is always going to take over. But I don't want you to eat it.
So
I want you to be safe.
So what do you think about, Linnell, that with this whole Ukraine war, the Russian soldiers, they was actually out there in Chernobyl. Have you been keeping up with that? How they were actually out there amongst that toxic? I think they even took over the plant, right? Didn't they take over the plant?
I saw something like that. I
put a
saw
link at the
something
top.
like that. Let me see. Unprotected Russian soldiers should radio. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so they up there because they know the truth. They just there.
So let me put another link. Another link at the top is it says that the Ukraine war, over 70 Russian soldiers exposed to radiation at Chernobyl. This was last year. What do you think about this? They claim that they had to receive medical treatment in Belarus after being exposed to radiation during their temporary control over the Chernobyl's nuclear plant.
Yeah, so what it looks like is that Russia went and took over the fucking area. And so as a way to, again, it's a more cover story. It literally reminds me of the shit that happened with the balloon the other day, right? Where something happened and they need a cover story because once one lie falls, the rest of the lies generally fall. So they got to generate more lies. So how do you explain why there are pictures and videos of Russian troops at Chernobyl, right? Which is supposed to be this radioactive fucking wasteland, right? How do you explain that shit, right? How do you explain? You explain, well, they were there, but they needed fucking treatment. Get the fuck up out of here.
Yeah, because I remember, like, when I first heard about this, and that's the question I asked. Because I'm like, remember the documentary or that little mini docu-series came out about Chernobyl? Like, literally, like, just 2-3 years ago, right? And then, like, these Russian soldiers, they were like, okay, Russia has taken control over Chernobyl. But I remember them saying that they had the workers of the plant at gunpoint. But I'm thinking, like, I thought nobody was supposed to be there. So y'all had people...
Nigga.
Yeah, I never understood that part of the story. And
they're in rotations.
So there are, okay. But we were always told, and remember, I don't know about y'all and everybody else, nobody can go in a certain radius of that area. So now there are people working or always have been still working in that area.
Yeah, they have to control the spotlight.
There was a lady living out there too. An old lady was still living there too. So it's a whole bunch of psyop going on.
Okay. Yeah, I never quite understood that story. I remember watching a little bit of the docuseries. I've learned much about it, and I was just like, okay, then why are the Russians out there willy-nilly, and they took control over it? In fact, it was a big accomplishment for the Russians to take control of that plant.
The entire story is fake. The entire narrative around what nuclear is and how it operates and what it does is a marketing campaign. And so when you listen to Galen talk about it, he says it's for money. I think a little differently because one of the things that he said he tried to do was, I don't know if you know how when companies have all this so when they have all this nuclear waste, the people that run these nuclear plants, right? So they supposedly generate all this nuclear waste. And so there's this big to-do about disposing of nuclear waste, right? And so it's supposed to be super expensive because they have to do it in a very specific way and put it in very specific places.
Which means
and so he said
that he was responsible for measuring and controlling the nuclear fuel inventory for these projects.
He was like, you know what? He went to these companies that was supposed to be paying a lot of money. And
few peers in the world in this area of expertise. And those few peers admittedly know and agree with the things that you'll be...
So he goes to him. He's like, hey, tell you what I'm going to do, right? You pay me, a small fraction of, the cost, and we'll dispose of your nuclear waste. So he's going to make a business out this shit. And he was like, the companies were like, hell no, we know what that shit is. We ain't giving you shit. We'll take care of it ourselves. Right? So it's a big game. And all the people at the top know the fucking game. Right? They just lie to us. They lie to the fucking public about what it is.
So,
you know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you, Linnell. Your sentiments about the object flying over Alaska is that's just the government, the United States government. What? That's just a lie.
Oh no, that was Santa Claus, bro. That shit was as real as Santa Claus. That was as real as Santa Claus. So you got to remember. So check it out. So you got to remember, when the shit was in Montana, right? What was motherfuckers saying? Motherfuckers was like, yo, how that shit get all the way from China to America? It's shit in the middle of fucking Montana. How it get to Montana without nobody spotting shit? And then the shit went all the way over to motherfucking to the East Coast, right? So people were like, yo, how did that shit happen without people looking out for it and all some other bullshit? So now you come back with a whole nother story about, you know what? We caught one just as it was getting in American airspace. See, we got it. Right? Like, it's all fucking propaganda, yo.
Wait. So you don't think it really happened, or like what?
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, really?
They making that shit the fuck up.
Okay, so hold on. So what about the idea that people say that there could be aliens? That was a spaceship over Alaska.
Man, Shan, what did I tell you about aliens, man? Look, we're going to have to have this Project Bluebeam talk. We're going to have to have this Project Bluebeam talk. We're going to have to have this Project Bluebeam talk. See, people always ask me, why is Flat Earth important? Flat Earth is important because it explains all of this shit, nigga. Project Bluebeam, aliens. Now, I'm not saying the extraterrestrials don't exist. Don't get me twisted, right? But in terms of, like, those spaceships and all that shit, them ain't fucking aliens. That's fucking... those are terrestrials fucking in those crafts and shit, bro. That ain't got shit to do with no fucking aliens. That's all I'm saying.
All right. So Linnell is saying, listen, them ain't no aliens. Y'all tripping. That's not a spaceship. It never happened. The United States is just putting on a story so it can look like they're getting ahead. Well, okay. So when we were listening to the press conference, maybe this kind of goes into what you're saying, because one of the reporters asked, why did you shoot this one down? Because apparently a few weeks ago, there was another one that was flying over Alaska. And they didn't shoot that one down, though. Right? And the reporter brought up that, why did you shoot this one down, but you didn't shoot the other one down? Did you shoot this one down just because of societal or political pressure, pretty much? And the guy, he never really kind of responded to the question, like the person who was debriefing. But it could maybe that's kind of going into what you're saying, how they're literally they want to make the public of America feel safe. To say, hey, look, we got in front of this thing before it got too far. Check this out, blah, blah, blah. You see, we do our job. I also posted a link at the top of the room. China's hypersonic generator could power all kinds of weapons. What y'all think about this? I'm going to read it real quick. It says, Chinese researchers, they built a supersonic generator that could power military lasers, rail guns, microwave weapons. It says that, let's see, they have enough electrical current to power hypersonic weapons of the future. Now, what the hell is that? These hypersonic missiles that terrify the United States military. I'm going to post this link in the chat. So China... somebody in the chat said that it could have been a hologram that was flying over Alaska. You want to come up here? Because that was a theory I threw out earlier. Like, was it a hologram? They do have the technology now to have holograms and do a lot of little funny style stuff. Project Blue Beam type stuff, right?
Yep. Straight Blue Beam. I was thinking the same thing. Even with this balloon that, you know what I mean? Like, you can literally Google and see that we have high altitude balloon satellites. Like, they look exactly the same. So I'm like, bro, I don't believe anything these niggas be saying at this point.
And the fact that we had another link is in the chat somewhere, but someone had posted that just 3 years ago, the United States had the same balloon floating over. And they were actually just openly talking about how United States has satellite balloons. So 3 years ago, there was like news posts that were talking about how the United States have their own. And now today, the same balloon looks very similar. It's called a Chinese spy balloon. So, you know, kind of going back into Linnell's point, are they just using this to juice up this hypothetical war that they are claiming they don't want, but could they be hyping this up? Let's see who we got on the stage. AK Boss, KJ, you guys got something on it? What are your thoughts about the Pentagon shooting down this object over Alaska?
Like I said, just hyping up the war. Got to give some breadcrumbs. Because, China, they building up their navy in the South China Sea to protect their oil. So, hey, it's just a matter of time. Tick tock, tick tock. Get in where you fit in.
When you say matter of time, are you saying that we're inching towards nuclear warfare?
Whichever method they want to use.
Okay. All right. Well, anybody else? Stage is open. If anybody else wants to come on stage, I don't see any updates about this. And in the debriefing, they were very kind of standoffish about trying to describe what this was. Where did it come from? They're not putting much information out there right now. Yeah. I do not believe this was a balloon because they did not say it was a balloon. So it's definitely not a balloon. So what it is, we don't know. And we don't know because they're not telling us, or they're also claiming that they don't know. Right? But are there any other updates now with this thing? I don't think there's any updates so far. Yeah, I don't think there's any updates. What's going on? They put it out there and they kind of just go back in their corner. I'm assuming that maybe by tomorrow morning, the next day, we'll get a little bit more of a story that they have concocted up. Now, somebody said that it could have had a cylinder shape. So they.
Is there pictures of it?
No.
There ain't nothing, right? But there was just we have pictures of the balloon, but not of this.
Yeah, there's no pictures of it. They literally just came out after it shot down. There's no pictures of it.
It's funny that all this is popping up too after that war chief said, "Oh, we might go to war with China in the next 2 years," and then we've been having all this shit pop up after that.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. There is no pictures of it. They only went public when it was shot down. So now there's no evidence for us to see.
Yeah, you see what I'm talking about? They playing.
And then the pictures that people are using, they're purposely putting pictures of UFOs and stuff like that. But none of these pictures that y'all have seen, if you're gonna look, these are not official photos. These are just stock images that people are using. But they're trying to insinuate it was this alien craft that was that has a cylinder type look hovering over this this particular area. But there's no proof what it looked like. There's no proof. Hence that there's no proof that it even happened, right? I guess going back to that theory. There's no proof. So yeah. We're gonna have to just keep our eyes out for this, and for any other potential objects that will continue, hopefully not, be flying up. Oh, wait. They have a video now. Hold on. I'm sorry. Go ahead, love. Go ahead.
I was just saying, do people think that if this whole China and world war thing happened, is America like done?
Anybody want to answer that?
There was an echo, so I didn't fully hear.
Yeah, she gotta repeat that.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
So, do you guys think that a war with China is imminent? And if it does happen, are we like done? Like, are we on the winning side or the losing side?
Go type in on your phone who has the biggest military in the world right now.
Shit, I don't know, man. Go watch the movie. Watch the movie Red Dawn. You know what I'm saying? And come up with your own conclusion, I guess. Also, watch the movie Wag the Dog. I keep telling people watch that shit. I haven't told y'all, but a few other people I know. Watch the movie Wag the Dog. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. Come up to your own conclusions.
I always thought that. I mean, I get it. China has more people, so it has a bigger military. But I always thought that America had the better military. Like, that's why we were ahead with stealing resources and taking people's shit and invading their countries and staying there and setting up shit around like the world. Like,
yeah, we do.
Like, we're in a better position. So I mean, that's why I was asking y'all. Like, what do y'all think? Like, I mean, is it really more people over strategy? Like, a better strategy?
Yeah, man. Yeah. We do got a better military. We got better technology and all that shit. You know what I'm saying? We got advanced technology. So do they, though. Don't get it twisted. But we're just a little more advanced with the shit. You know? And, yeah.
I guess what she's asking is, do we have a chance to win? Sorry, go ahead, Pelio.
Yeah, we're gonna win, but it's, you know what I'm saying? It's not gonna go down how people think, though.
I don't know. I mean, any of you guys ever been to China?
No.
Because if you go to China,
I've been to Hong
understand.
Kong, not China though. I've been to Hong Kong.
Well, before it became China, when you go to China, you understand that, you know, first of all, we don't know what kind of technology they have. By the looks of it, they're a little bit more ahead than us. Number two, they got an army that has over 100 million soldiers. So you got to think about that too. It's obvious the United States has ran out of countries to invade. Hence, the situation in Ukraine and Russia, because the resources are coming from Russia, and the United States needs the economy. We don't produce anything anymore. The only thing we do is weapons. So we had to create a proxy war, so that we can funnel, arms and tanks and all that stuff. So China is uncomfortable for us because they're doing something that, the United States was never able to do, which is going to other countries and exchange products for services. So China's gone into a number of countries, and they're actually in Afghanistan now. They're building hospitals, they're building roads. They are in a large number of nations in Africa, and they are exchanging services for resources without firing a bullet. And
that's becoming very uncomfortable for the United States. China is declaring sovereignty over, the Southeast China Sea. That's something the United States do not want because is going to, that part of the sea has where a lot of shipping cargoes go through, and they really don't want to have a China that is not only because the United States has a debt with China of trillions of dollars that is never going to get paid because it's never going to go in default, and it's never going to go in default because we're going to continue to do wars in order to keep that debt afloat and not having to go into default. That's actually some of the words that some of these Congress people have been talking about, have spoken. So it's a complicated issue. We're running out of options here. The cost of living in this country has skyrocketed. The only really thing that we have is that it's an advantage towards other countries, in comparison to other countries, that we have cheaper gas. But even that, it's coming, at a price. As far as having the stronger military, I don't know. The United States has lost just about every single conflict after World War II. So we have a great Air Force, but then every time, we go into a nation to take their resources, we end up taking their resources, but we also end up leaving on the losing ends. Look at Vietnam. Look at Cambodia. Look at Iraq, too. Afghanistan. We've been there. They've been there for 20 years, and then they ended up leaving, not really winning anything because there was nothing to win. They were there in the first place to grab resources, and the resources that they had, that Afghanistan has, is opium. And the reason they needed opium is because pharmaceutical companies use that. So I mean, I don't know. It's not going to end well, that's for sure. And instead of having, some leaders who are looking into the future with new ways of foreign policies, we have people who are actually looking back to 20, 30 years, because Biden is someone from the old guard, from the Kissinger era. These people have orchestrated coups, and they have removed democratically elected leaders. They led into awful dictatorships. They brutalized people. So it's like, plus we got more problems here at home. This is the implosion of capitalism and failed foreign policies, if you will. And it's unfortunate, but unless we open our eyes to see this, it's never going to change. And unfortunately, I don't even think there is a possibility of change, because Republicans and Democrats are two wings of the same bird. Yes, they may have differences in the way they like to deal with the people, but in essence, they belong to the same owners, and that's the corporations, Wall Street, and all of that. They all serve the same interests. They have different approaches, but unfortunately, I don't see a way out. And I don't know if there is one, because every time there's some type of new wave of leadership that tries to emerge, it gets shut down, because everything is really based on, how much money you have. A good advertising campaign to steer the minds and whatever. And even if you end up being elected, let's just say, nothing happens. I mean, we've seen it in the past with other leaders that we thought it was going to be a great change, and the things are very minimal. The foreign policies continue to be on that same vein of invasion and taking, and I don't know, man. I'm not looking at the future in a positive way, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you for that, Palio. Declan, we have the U.S. Ministry of Truth. You guys want to tap in there? What are your thoughts about the Pentagon and this object that was shown flying over Alaska, and what should be the response, and what are we looking at for the future? I don't know if Declan or U.S. Ministry, whoever wants to go first, go ahead.
Hi everyone. So just a quick note before I start, I am not American, but I have been following what's been happening, and I kind of want to tap into something Paolo said that I think many people aren't aware. Look, when you're American and
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I was trying to check out your profile. Go ahead, brother.
Oh, that's okay. So when you're an American in America, you're too involved. It's like when you're in a toxic relationship, it's hard to see out. I think America right now is too busy with one thing: wokeness. It's too busy with what are his, her pronouns. What did he or she wear? Y'all, China has North Korea and Russia. That's all I can say. What does the U.S. have? Canada? Well, I mean, Canada probably is going to run to China. All the tech in the world right now is coming from China. My smart bulbs are Chinese. Philips has been purchased by China. Everything in our homes, whether I'm in Israel or you're in America or he's in Spain, is somehow somewhat connected to China. And yeah, the military, maybe it's not the strongest, but it will, as heck, get the work done. Because that's the Chinese they're focused and they know what they want and they can get it. It's super easy for them to, send a missile out of North Korea or out of Vietnam or out of Thailand, because they control those areas. Those poor countries, and when I say poor, I mean like money-wise, they are in so much debt to China that they will never be able to repay China back, and China knows it. China knows that if she tells, I don't know, Laos to do something, Laos will do it because Laos owes China billions of dollars. And China knows that, but the U.S. or the American people, that's what I see as a non-American. What, Americans are busy with right now is either, going on to insane conspiracy theories about what's, the thing over Alaska, the UFO, or just still busy with, wait, is Dylan Mulvaney a he or a she, and what are your pronouns, and gender inclusivity? Like, what is going on with America? Because if a war is going to happen or something is going to happen, y'all, China is spying on you guys. And what's people doing? Like, what are you guys doing? I'm in Israel, so I know that at the end of the day, my country will, take whatever it needs to protect anyone from spying on the citizens, and I don't think Americans can do that. So I hope I haven't offended anyone. But I just think that Americans need to wake up, realize that they are in this game of lose-lose, and get it together and fight back, because this is not going to end well for you guys. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't offend anyone.
Well, damn. Did you just...
Right? I was like, shit.
Well, damn. Okay. You just... try to put people in their place. So okay, let me understand it. So you're saying that from where you're from Israel, and United States sends tons of money to Israel, right?
Yep.
Okay.
This shit is over here.
So you're saying that I'm not saying I believe you. I'm not saying I do believe you, but what you're trying
to... 666.
Huh?
I said, while you were talking, the cat was at 666. I'm weak.
Oh wow! Right. So what you're saying and what you're trying to imply is that we will be weakened, and we are being weakened, and that you don't think that we have a chance of winning, and that it doesn't really bother you because you're going to be in Israel and you guys are going to be okay, right? Is that what you're saying?
Not really.
Oh, correct me.
Yeah. So I care about America, right? I love America. I love the U.S.
There's a bad echo. I think you gotta mute, man.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Declan.
Sorry. So no, I love America. I love the U.S. We do. Israelis love the U.S. And I'm not saying that I'm safe because I'm far. I'm saying that Israel doesn't have all of its eggs in one basket. And, at some level, there is some certain awareness about the dangers out there. So, look, the U.S. has a lot of allies, and I know those allies will help, including Israel, if a war ever happens. Israel will come and help. And so will Canada, so will Chile. Those are like the close, near regions, but Israel's far. So I don't know how help that would be unless it was a technological war where definitely it will help. But my point is here, it's about the proper education. It's about, hold up, let's not, this is like a problem that is happening in Israel now, that the government is super right wing and there's this protests everywhere. I think at some point someone should say, hold up, this is not about Democratic or Republican. This is the situation as is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Please be aware of your surroundings. Please don't buy this. I don't know. Give more education to the people. It's like, focus, let's shift all this crazy amount of focus that's happening with the wokeism. I'm not saying wokeism is bad. I mean, I'm saying it's getting way too much attention that I don't think it deserves all of that. There's racism, there's transism, there's so much stuff everywhere, but let's educate the people for one day, 2 days. People should take care of themselves and others, because if not, it's not going to end well. And if something will happen, all of the allies for the U.S. will also be in danger, because yes, people will also try to protect the U.S., not just America. It's not a lone fight, but it's not about fighting alone. It's about winning the fight,
So what is the likelihood, do you think, just based off what you think, of an invasion in our lifetime?
An invasion is not going to happen like the World War I or II style. No, if an invasion will happen, it's going to be definitely technological. Someone's going to hack the NSA systems, the CIA, the FBI, shut down the whole thing, make things from the inside, destroy things from the inside, which I think it's kind of starting. It's like there's insane amount of bots going on Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, and people are buying into those bots and the ideology that's being posted behind them. I saw one a few weeks ago where this weird, insane post was on Reddit, and it got so much engagement, so much comments. That went to other posts and more posts and more posts. And if something was to happen now, I don't know what's going to happen to America. I don't know. Alaska could be taken back to Russia. It could be given back as a gift back to Russia from China, because Russia has been interested in getting Alaska back.
Whoa, wait, slow that down. I actually want you to go into that a little further, because there's been a lot of things brewing in the Alaskan waters. And I know a few years ago, the farmers, those fishing farmers, they almost got into a conflict with some Russian, I don't want to say cruisers, but let's just say some Russian warships. They were doing some drills, because there's a treaty where they're supposed to split those waters. So one half of the waters are going to be for the Russians, and the other half is supposed to be for Alaskans and the United States. Well, the Russians were actually seeping over into the American side. So the area where these people were going out to fish, they were bumping into these warships, and that wasn't supposed to happen. So that was when, the articles coming out, is this an intimidation tactic on the behalf from the Russians? So yeah, go ahead, continue. I want you to kind of talk about how if China gets in control, they can actually start maybe even giving not even just Alaska to Russia, but what about these other territories that were owned by Spain and things like that? Could they start giving these territories also back to places that already had it before the British?
Well, from my point of view and from what I hear, and it's like official, Russia is interested in getting Alaska back. So yes, it's those I'll call them also warships. I don't think they were there to intimidate. I think they were there to gather intel. Period.
Right.
And right, so they want intel. They want it back. And yes, Russia. Okay, there are 2 points of entry into North Korea. One is from China into Pyongyang, and one is from Russia, right? Those 3 are best friends. They're like Regina George and the other 2 from Mean Girls. They're best friends, right? So if I want my best friend to do something that she's not so comfortable with, I will give her a gift. I truly think China wants to somehow, with all its power, whoop Alaska, give it to Russia so they can do their thing together. It's crazy. It's going down. I don't think that China will give any of the previous territories back, just because those people are not its current allies. Unless there's a country who is an ally, then I might think that yes, there could be a chance. I've also seen online talks about Hawaii also wanting to be annexed and given independence. So the Alaskans don't really want to go back to Russia, to being a part of Russia, but Hawaiians, they're tired of being under the U.S. They're getting treated like shit. They're getting no rights. They're being discriminated everywhere. And mainland Americans are just going to their little island, trashing it for little parties and drinks, and going back to Florida, Delaware. So there has been talks that also Hawaii is actually initiating a way to exit the U.S. So at this point, it's like, well,
Oh
who
my
is
god.
this going to get to?
Wow. So, I love that you're bringing this up because I think this is a blind spot. A lot of people forget when we talk about American history is that if there was an invasion, could they start giving the 50 states back? Could they walk America back?
What's going on? They're getting ready to give the land back to the true gods of this motherfucker. That's what's going on. You know what I'm saying? From here to Hawaii to American Samoa. It's all the same thing. You know what I'm saying? You got to peep game, bro. They're giving the land back. You feel me? I don't even think the government's here anymore. You know what I'm saying? I've been said this shit. I don't think they here anymore. You know what I'm saying? I think it's just like secret societies running this motherfucker.
Well, secret societies created the government, so if the government not here, then they're not here. But if
we gonna say that, then
yeah.
them motherfuckers, yeah, they leaving.
Okay, so let's go back to that though. I don't want to just hop into the theories. Let's just deal with states and who previously owned what territories, right? And at one point, Alaska was underneath Russian rule. And from what he's saying is that if possible, then it could be that Russia could actually come back in and they could regain not even just Alaska. Remember, they also have parts of Canada too. Right? Now, okay, hold on. Because I'm as we're talking, I'm visualizing the map reversing. You guys remember the map when they had the westward expansion and you slowly start seeing these states become part of the United States? Okay, now what if the map just starts reversing? You know what I'm saying? So where do we go from there? If there's a reversal of America, where not just to the indigenous, but to the people who had these territories. So California, Mexico, and a lot of those southwestern states, that's Spaniard that was over there, right? Including Florida.
They was indigenous too.
No,
they was niggas too.
The Spaniards I'm talking about came from Spain that came and took over those territories. Okay.
Oh well, you got.
Then you had hold on a second. Then you had who else was here? The French, right? But I don't think the French and China, are they allied? I don't think they're allied, right? Are they allied? Anybody know? I don't think the French.
The French aren't allied with China.
They're not. Okay, so they might be cut out the picture, you know. But if they was, because there's been a lot of talks of America splitting into different new nations. There's been talks of that. And I've seen theories. I've seen even different maps of how it could potentially split, and this and that becomes that. But I've never actually thought about it from the Chinese coming in and initiating that split. So being that they're going through buying land, could they also be using that land to start the split of a nation? I'm gonna mute my mic and I want to hear what y'all think.
So I say, okay, so is it happening? I say it's a strong possibility, right? So Declan made the point, it wouldn't be all out, initiative in terms of physical force by China. It's very hard for China to invade the United States, but they can, create a lot of mess behind the scenes in terms of cyber warfare, creating dissent, the use of propaganda, right? So one of the dangers with Alaska, I'll skip that. That's obvious, right? But look at Hawaii. So when I was living in Hawaii in the late 90s, there was talk of that on the islands, right? Where people were pushing towards indigenous sovereignty and the retaining, bringing back the Hawaiian kingdom. But a lot of the people that were supporting that, who were not Hawaiians, were the Chinese who were living. You see what I mean? Yeah. I mean, you see that? So people may say, what's the big deal with that? Well, Hawaii, right? That's the headquarters of the Pacific Fleet, the most outer ring, right? World War II, what have you. So if you take Hawaii and it's no longer a state and it's returned to the Hawaiian Kingdom, they may say, we don't want your American bases here. Your whole Pacific Fleet and U.S. Navy has to get the fuck out. And then, therefore, right, think about that. So the only reason we're able to protect the Pacific is because we're 2,800 miles out from California. You take that away, and then our international borders only extend, 200 miles, 500 miles west off the coast of Cali? So legally, they could be in international waters 500 miles off the coast of California, right, if Hawaii stops being a state. And then there's no more defense. China and Russia are in a military alliance. So I see them pushing all these different angles, of dissension. Russian propaganda, Chinese propaganda, they love it, creating up this racial stuff where we fight each other. It creates domestic dissension where we don't know what to do. Like Declan was saying, we can't agree on a certain position, so it's advantageous for them, right? So.
Wow. So to your point and to Declan's point, I posted up a link. Thanks to Flood in the chat. California, also a good chunk of it used to be owned by Russia. So is it possible that now, not just, like I said, not just Alaska, but parts of Canada, then you have Washington, maybe pieces of Oregon, down to, I know, Northern California, could that also start to revert back into Russia territory if China is successful?
So just real quick history, and then people could jump in on this. So what she's talking about is the Alaska Purchase, which was 1860s, right? So before that, people may not know that the Russian Empire had 5 military installations in California around the San Francisco Bay, right? And so that's just a piece of history that a lot of people are not familiar with. They tried to enslave the local indigenous nations, the Califians and others, the Uto, Aztec-speaking tribes and nations in California. They were so unsuccessful with that, and this is in their own documentation, they started importing in tens of thousands of Siberians as slaves. So we've talked about that before. That's a divergent side issue. Siberians coming in as slaves, claiming the title of American. So, but that is an issue specifically for Alaska and then for California. And then so remember before I was talking about U.S. Space Command having an installation in Alaska. If you take out Alaska, that's a very huge blow to the Western aspect of the U.S. military, because we have JBER up there, but we also have a U.S. Space Command installation. Yeah, so I'll just leave it with that. Let other people jump in on it.
Let me also just highlight what you just said. That's a very key point of history, is that Siberian slaves were coming through the Alaskan Canadian area, because a lot of people don't understand the different slave trades that occurred on this landmass, and why do you see just different looking people depending on what side of the country you're at, right? So the Siberians are coming through there. The Filipinos and much of some of the Asians from various locations out of Asia were coming as slaves as well into Mexico through the Spanish and etc. So, mind you, that has nothing to do with the East Coast. So we're just dealing with the West Coast history. And if possible, for anyone that's new in the room, we're talking about, if possible, if China is successful at trying to insert themselves inside the United States, could they start to revert our states back to respective territories of the people who once owned these territories, right? And of course, for them to own the territories, yes, indigenous peoples had to be unfortunately displaced. They had to be killed, murdered, or enslaved, right? So we know that's a big chunk of a part of that history as well. Is it possible that Russia can take it back? And you're not the first person I've actually heard say that. Like, I've actually heard somebody else say it's possible that Russia can take back Alaska. And if that's the case, I think it's possible a lot of other places can take back different territories in the United States.
And also, don't forget a key country in all of this, Mexico. Mexico also isn't very happy. And I think now the U.S. is trying to make Mexico very happy. And, like, keep in mind how many territories were previously either Mexican or wanted to be Mexican for a part. I mean, Mexico is the most strategic place there is if anyone would want to infiltrate the U.S., whether it's China or Russia or even North Korea. Mexico is perfect because it has so many entries into the U.S. and so many of the American current states were previously Mexican. So I think it's also safe to say that Mexico is, we also need to keep an eye on it as well, not just Alaska or China.
Yes, and that's why it's an eye opener to see that the border is so wide open down in Mexico. Now, I know that in Mexico they also are building a relationship with the Chinese. There's a lot of Chinese-owned factories and pharmaceutical companies, etc., that are in Mexico, right? Am I right, Declan? Right?
Yes, so many. And I know this because one of my good friends in Israel, she's Mexican, and she told me that there is a new housing project, in some southern area in Mexico. I don't know which city. I don't even remember the name, but it's in some rural village in southern Mexico, somewhere like very far from the capital. That there has been crazy project buildings there, and from what she heard, it's a new housing project with factories that's apparently owned by China, given to the Mexican friends by Chinese donors. So I don't know.
So just real quick to what Declan is talking about, right? According to our government, the State Department on their website, I can link it in the chat, has stated that since 2005, China has invested $4.5 billion in development in Mexico.
Okay, I got a let me see, hold on. I got a link. China, this is just 4 days ago. It's always so funny when I'm like talking about something, like here's a link right here. So I'm gonna put a link up about China and Mexico. All right, so this link talking about the Chinese companies are investing billions into Mexico. Not millions, billions into Mexico. Okay? It says, alarmed by shipping chaos and geopolitical fractures, exporters from China are setting up factories in Mexico to preserve their sales to the United States. All right. Let's see.
And just a quick note, if possible, Sean. And
Yes.
this is coming from me, a non-American who isn't invested too much in American politics. That just gives you maybe, this will sound harsh, but that maybe just gives a little bit of like reinforcement to what I said previously, that Americans are so busy in stuff that doesn't matter, that everyone around the world, people who are not Americans, who couldn't really care less about America, who aren't busy with American politics, know this stuff. And Americans themselves have no clue. This is dangerous, y'all. It's dangerous.
I have to agree because even in my room tonight, like today, somebody it was a white guy came in here and he thought he was gonna get his shock value rocks off by saying some racist stuff. Then it was black people ready to come in so that they can debunk that, and it was about to just turn the whole room left. And you can see how the social issues takes people's eyes off the main fucking topic. We're talking about the Pentagon. We're talking about possible invasions. We're talking about the possible idea of these other superpower nations being able to take down us. Whatever your background is, you live in the United States, you're a United States citizen. So at some point, it's going to affect you. Whether you're rich or poor, it will affect you at some point, right? In that conversation of just this room alone, there were still people trying to bring in their social issues to derail the conversation to where I had to literally say, listen, do y'all see what y'all are doing? Do you see what you're doing? You can't even focus on something that literally just happened a few hours ago because you're too caught up on, 13% of the population commits this much crime. What the fuck that got to do with the fact that we're dealing with the fact that we might not know, or we might be living in a time where the America as we know it will change. And I'm not even going to say might. We are living in a time where what we have seen as children is not the same nation that we're living in today. And I'm only in my damn 30s. So that means that in a 30-year span, I have literally seen my country change, right? So it don't take that long. It don't take thousands of years or hundreds of years for things to change. And while they're changing, you're caught up in the social issues, like you said. You're caught up in, I don't like her because she wears the same shoes every fucking day. I don't like him because he only get 50 people in his room. He only got 70 people or 70 likes on his pictures. We're caught up in shit that don't matter. And I'm going to be honest with you. We caught up in it because we are a first world nation. And as a first world nation, we have a lot of leniency. We have a lot of leisure sometimes to be caught up in things that really don't fucking matter. Because at the end of the day, remember, keep this in mind. Nothing lasts forever. Your comfortability won't last forever. Your superpower on the planet ain't gonna last forever. At some point, every nation had to meet the day where they had to prove and stand tall about if they were going to survive or were they going to fall. We are not going to be exempt of it. Now, whether you believe it's from China or Russia, that's what we're talking about. We're just kind of theorizing, right? But the reality is, if we look through history, empires all meet their day. There's always a bigger bully on the block, right? There's always somebody with a bigger bag that can spend more money than you. And there's always somebody who's willing to take it to a level you're not ready to take it to. As Americans, on our soil, we have the luxury to not deal with certain type of war. We have a different type of war that is really silent, that we deal with our own government. But as far as an outward war from another country, in my lifetime, from what I can understand, we've never really dealt with that on a large scale. We've never had to tie a bomb to our chest and go blow some shit up on the behalf of our country. We haven't really got there, right? And we don't want to get there. I'll say that. We don't want to get there. But we want to keep our eyes on a prize that, listen, we have families, we have kids, we have people that we care about and we love. And whether these are psyops or not, you're dealing in unprecedented times that you can't even predict what's going to happen next. We can theorize. So, Flood, welcome to the stage, Flood. Did you want to hop in here to give your thoughts about, what's going on with this object flying over Alaska? Is it UFO? Is it China? Is it some other foreign high-tech technology that's doing some type of surveillance on us? What are your thoughts about this? Oh, we can't. Is it me? I can't hear you.
I can't hear him either.
All right, Flood, we can't hear you. Your mic is open. Okay, we hear you now.
Hey, can you hear me a little better?
All right.
A little better.
All right, cool. All right. I'll just stand in the corner of the room. Because I don't know what's going on too much in Alaska. I literally just hopped on because you guys, I guess your posts or your room titles will kind of led me on to what the hell's going on over there. But I mean, I guarantee it's just most likely China just running another test experiment or a test weapon. Because so for the last couple of years they love fucking with us. Either shooting a missile over the whole entire U.S. and be like, you can test us, and other random shit like that. So I can see China just fucking around, doing what they do best. Then that's my input right now on what's going on with that. I gotta do more research, but I wouldn't also put it past pretty much I guess more exposure to some the phenomena that we've been seeing with the UAPs, because it seems like they're kind of getting us ready for something.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. It seems like they're preparing for something. What do you think that something is?
Well, I remember back in 2001. I was reading a lot of articles about actually what's going on today. A lot of futures and predictions. They're saying that after a big world event, early 2000s or early 2020s, there's going to be of course another major event, and this will help bring the ease introduction of another species or intelligent species to our planet, because they don't want to just go ahead and just announce it because of the phrase of the backlash of many people who are quite religious and also or who might see them as God or something like that, or something bigger than what they actually are. And so they kind of want to ease into us as a society, so there's not an overreaction. That's what these documents said, and I can understand that and I can see that, because all of a sudden another species came in, either people who are religious will freak out, or also they'll create a new religion as them to be the new gods, which they're most likely just another intelligent species, no different from us, just doing what they do, just like us. They go to places to conquer.
So you think that this a lot of these issues that they're put in the media, remember they put in the media because they want you to know. They don't want you to know, you wouldn't know. But they put it out there for whatever reason, and you think that underneath it is just soft disclosure of another race of, I don't know, are they going to be humans, or are they half human, half whatever? What are you saying they are?
Well, I mean, I want to say humanoid, and from I know when it comes to things all coming out to be the same on our planet, throughout evolution, things have a tendency to turn out into crustacean, sort of like a crab-like object through evolution, just because of the environment that they're in. When they're all in this kind of same environment, things tend to end up evolving the same way. So maybe if when it comes to intelligent species that have the ability to use tools, they come up. I'm thinking maybe a humanoid look. Hence why every single time you see attack anybody, if they interact with an alien, they get that humanoid figure. So I figure it was just another humanoid. Yeah, something of that sort. So I kind of think that this form that we have is kind of like the common form for intelligent species that use tools.
Okay. Well, I think that kind of goes into like somebody had brought up that there was somebody who was running for president named Zoltan, and he's pushing for a transhuman political party. Have you heard about that?
I don't know. So he's just one of those people that mix with technology. He's a geek or a super nerd.
Yeah, and he was running for president on that premise to start merging humanity with technology, and he's actually currently he's building, or he has built awareness for a humanist political party to be vouched for. I put the link in the Discord. For anybody who don't have the Discord link, is in the chat. So yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, he's a little bit too late because the transhumanism, transhumanism started thousands of years ago. Ever since we started using tools, we are already cyborgs technically. We don't utilize what we came out during birth. We add more stuff to us to make life easier. Clothing, vehicles, shoes, cars. We already are transhumanists. I just don't think people want to admit to it yet.
Ooh. Okay. I don't think a lot of people would like to like you said, admit to it. How many hours of a day do you spend on your phone, and that lets you know if you're human or not. How many hours a day do you spend on your computer, work included? That lets you know if you're human or not. Okay. Okay, hold on. Let's go into for everybody new in the room. I want to make sure I keep the new people up to speed about this object. There has not been any new updates, but there has been a lot of people theorizing on what this object looked like. They have saying that it was a cylinder looking object that was flying over. Now, this is not from officially from the Pentagon. Now, people, of course, in the conspiracy streets are saying that it was a cylinder object. But the Pentagon is saying it was an object that's like the shape of a car. That's all they're telling us. The shape of a car. Not in shape, I'm sorry. The size of a car. The size of a car. So that's all we know so far. This object, the size of a car, was flying over Alaska. All right. Now, so far since we've been talking, and I've been like trying to hold out to see if any more new information would come out, I don't think they're going to put much out yet. Maybe by tomorrow, they'll have some type of story they're going to tell us. And because there is no official video of this object, the only thing that we know of is it was shot down. And once it was shot down, we heard about it. So it's not like the Chinese, as they say, the Chinese spy balloon or weather balloon. There's no actual like footage that I know of. If there's footage, put the link in the chat and let's share it to the room. But so far, right. Now, I also posted something in the chat earlier, and now we can kind of tap on a little bit how, we created an also, not just are they trying to implement new political parties for these new species that they're claiming are here or amongst us or going to come. They also we created something called the Space Force, right? So that was under Trump. Trump created the United States Space Force. So we don't just have ground, water, air, coastal protection, homeland protections. We now have space protection. In this situation, I'm going to ask Declan, Eaglehawk, Flood, even James or U.S. Ministry, anyone. In this situation, do you think that this would be where the Space Force steps in? Or would it be the United States regular military step in for something like this?
No, I think it's just going to be the military. The Space Force is, I think it's for satellites. Because it's, America gets cable, right? In many areas that are not America, we use something called satellite. So the way I can watch free TV at times is through a satellite dish, right? I connect my little satellite out the window and it connects to a satellite in outer space. China could potentially send one of these to spy on Americans. I think that's what the Space Force is for. I think it's just regular military that shot down this thing over Alaska that will take care of it. But just a quick note, I don't think the way it looked, and most of the discussions online are how it looked. That's not what matters. What was inside of it. Now that's what matters,
I have to agree. What was inside of it? Just like when they shot the balloon last week, and it was like just a bunch of like just stuff came out of it. Like what was inside of that? And I don't know. Did anybody get any sources on what was inside that space balloon last week or air balloon? Yeah, I didn't really get too debriefed on what was actually in that. But yeah, so far, yeah, they're saying that they're claiming in this article I posted in the Discord that it was a cylinder, silver-ish gray, and it was floating. All right, it was a floating object. Now I'm reading the article from ABC News, and it was balloon-like. What say you, Declan?
Balloons are a great place to hide satellites, are a great place for transmitters. It's a great place for, I'm going to use the word humanoids, although it's not as sinister as it sounds. Because sometimes the word alien just sounds so sinister to humans, but it's not. I mean, with today's AI, with ChatGPT, with Lambda, with Google thing, it could simply have been, a robot or, and when I say robot, I mean like a super-powered computer or a laptop that has photos, aerial shots, that's sending back live information. It could have been that. That's the thing that could have been in, and now it's destroyed and whatever. But I don't know. I don't know.
All right. Somebody in the chat said balloons are a terrible place to hide satellites. Okay. Satellites are in space. Jal, you want to come on stage? What proof do you have that satellites are in space, though? What proof?
Because there are short-term transmitting satellites, and I'm using the word satellites, very loosely, but it could have been anything that transmits information, that records distances. That could also have been a satellite. It's something that tracks and sends info.
Jarl, it's on you. You said satellites are in space and balloons are terrible to hide
Sure,
a satellite.
so a satellite, and I'll find the correct definition, but a satellite is something that orbits around a body in space. So let me find the real definition, but the word satellite typically is referring to something that is in space. So the moon, I believe, and I'll fact check myself, I believe is considered a satellite technically. So let me fact check myself and I'll post a definition.
And sorry, just quick note, English is my third language, so I'm bound to make some mistakes. My apologies.
No, that's fair. English is my second language, so no, I get it.
So just a historical note, there used to be, I don't know if they still use the term, but after World War II, the United States military used a lot of satellites that would hang from balloons, and they called them satellites that are attached to high elevation balloons. So I agree. Most people think satellites are just in low Earth orbit, what have you, but there are also some that have been used in the past connected to balloons.
I don't think China is stupid. Those things were out in the public's eye. They were pretty obvious, right? It's also, I think it's also very interesting to think about the question, why? Right? China is not desperate. It's not. That's, if you can say, anything that China is not, it's desperate. So why would that huge ass balloon and that car-shaped thing over Alaska pop up? Why make it so obvious? Like, what's the end game for that? Why?
Joe, it's on you. You just posted something in the chat.
Oh, he's asking me. Sorry, I came in hot. Sorry. I don't know why I actually decline. I genuinely, like, if I had to guess, I think it's probably some type of weather balloon that went super far off course. That's my guess. Genuinely, I don't know. So I apologize if I came in hot, pretending like I knew. But thank you.
Joe, what's the definition of satellite? You said you were going to give it to us. Go ahead.
Oh, sure. Right. So satellite, there's two definitions. One of them is an artificial body placed in orbit around the Earth or moon or another planet in order to collect information. And the second one is a celestial body orbiting the Earth or another planet. So yeah, typically the way the word is used is something in space. But if it's Decline's third language, I totally forgive him.
Okay, so what proof do you have that it's in space, though?
What proof do I have that satellites are in space?
Yeah.
Ooh, I guess I don't. I guess I, as a human on Earth, it would be very difficult for me to prove, but I believe the scientists. Yeah.
Who's to say that our satellites are not orbiting by balloon right now around the world?
I think. I mean, there's a few reasons, but I think it would be difficult in the sense that, like, there's wind, there's like weather problems. But again, I'm not an expert, so I don't know. But I know we do use satellites for things like GPS technology, which work very well, and things like long distance communications. So those to me are signs that GPSs and satellites are working.
There was an article that came out. It's in the chat somewhere. Somebody posted it that America has its own balloon satellites, and they use it to help strengthen their tracking devices. It's an official article. It was 3 years ago that was released. So if America admits that they also have these balloon satellites, what proof that we have that it's these satellites that are using GPS are actually in space and not just hovering over us?
Well, I mean, America has, even though we're not the, we don't make all the products in the world, we do have a lot of advancements, and we have all sorts of different types of satellites. And so, we also just happen to also have balloon satellites, low orbit satellites, within diameter satellites, far orbit satellites. We kind of have a little bit of range of everything. Because you have a range of everything, you have guys covered many different sides.
Also, Sean, the issue here, or something that I would worry about, aren't registered satellites, right? Like Israel has a satellite in outer space, more than one. One of them is used for to transmit TV channels. Europe, the EU has one for TV channels called Hotbird. Egypt has a few. Those are not what should worry me. What worries me are rogue satellites, or satellites that we don't know who they belong to. So when there is a known satellite, it's fine. It can be tracked. The info it transmits can be tracked. We know if it gets someone's specific location for sinister, and this is like just an example, for sinister reasons, we know that it can be tracked. But when there's a rogue satellite somewhere that someone obviously had sent, the real question is who did that and for what reason? And I think that's what worries me personally, as I'm not going to say satellite in the balloon or the transmitter or whatever it could be, But there was something in there that's rogue. The weather satellites. I mean, the Israeli weather satellite went over Jordan a few times and went over Lebanon a few times. Lebanon and Israel are in a constant war state. But it wasn't a big deal because the Lebanese knew, okay, this is a weather balloon. We can read the information. It's from Israel. It came a few miles away. It's fine. It's going back. But a rogue one, that's the problematic one. That's the scary one.
I think I understood the confusion that I believe I was making. So the word satellite, from my perspective, right, is used for an object that's in space. But the first part of the definition that I read essentially summarizes to like spy tech. So like cameras and things to intercept communications. And so if you guys are saying that possibly that's the like spy technology, right, is what's in those balloons, I think that makes more sense. So I think that's possible. Although again, I think even if it was China, I don't see why China would put like cameras in a balloon when they have already actual GPS satellites. I assume that can kind of already do that. Could be wrong about that, but it's possible. They could be spying on people with balloons, but I feel like they have better technology than balloons to do that.
Oh, definitely. I agree. And I also said that China can spy on us in a billion different ways, starting from our smart bulbs to the little transmitter or whatever in the iPad. That's the point here is that not knowing, and we're just speculating here. But I mean, what was it doing? Was it maybe checking for biometrics? Was it scanning irises? Because with this new tech, we have the crazy, insane telescopes. Sorry, that can show us Mars and Venus and whatever. Do you think China can make a super powered camera that can just show us, scan irises, scan faces, get those biometrics? It can. So that is the question, and that also relates to me here as a non-American who does not live in America. Israel wants to be on the visa waiver program with the U.S., which means it's going to share its biometric database with America. In this case, if the biometric database in the U.S. gets jeopardized, so does my own information, and billions of other citizens around the world who have the U.S. visa waiver agreement. So that's also a point to think, like, to me as a non-American.
Well, I agree that would be a worry, but since when the world's actually going towards globalization, I think that's inevitable. What I find interesting though is that if we can't detect the signal, there's a thing called you can sniff packets. And this is where you wisely pick up signals and then you decode them, which so you can see what would be transmitted. So we can easily just from that sniffing, we should be able to tell what country or at least what protocols they're using or what encryption types they're using. But if it's all completely new to us, that's really interesting. Some motherfucker stupidly smart and made his own thing, his own languages and stuff, and his own encryptions. Or something from beyond us.
Did we hear from U.S. Ministry of Truth? Did you jump in there, U.S. Ministry?
No, I haven't spoken.
All right, Mike's on you.
Yeah, I wanted to speak to Declan, but the guy before him a long time ago, he left the room. Raphael, or I don't remember his name. Anyway, this balloon crap and UFO crap is a distraction. The guy that was here before, whatever his name was saying the U.S. is screwed. We don't know what we're doing. Everything that's happening is the plan. So the war in Ukraine is to cut off food supply to Africa, which will cause massive migration and refugees. Google 1 billion migrants, climate change. You're going to see 100 articles about that. They're going to move the Middle East and Africa, I would say at least 1 billion into the global south, into the north. That is a protection for the United States because China and BRICS, or China and Russia, in essence BRICS, are trying to take over half of the world, or as much as they can possibly get in trade, as well as financially, currency-wise and whatnot. So if you're the U.S., what do? You cause mass migration out of those countries, Africa and Middle East, into the North. You then get them into your military, which is what's happening now. That's what's going to happen. And then if China or Russia goes to war with us and kills the Muslims or the Africans or the Middle Easterns that we have in our country, they've just blown themselves up. BRI is dead, BRICS is dead. They've ended it for themselves. And I think it was Declan that was talking about, or maybe the guy before again, about they, them, and the woke and the pronouns. That is because they're doing the trans stuff, putting women into men's prison, or trans women into men's prison, trans men into women's prison. They're getting rid of, they're putting bathrooms together. They want to put showers together for children in school systems. What they're doing, if you look at it, they're removing the gap between male and female. Why? Because they're going to do conscription and a draft of both men and women. And if you were paying attention, while everyone was worried about January 6th and the biggest whatever attack on our democracy ever, on January 25th, I think it was, Biden signed a bill or a whatever, signed something, I forget what it was, declaration or something, saying that immigrants and American citizens, males, and anybody who's transitioned from male to female will be required to sign up for the draft if there is one. So the next step is to have females do that. That's why they're blurring the lines and getting rid of the gap between men and women. And the reason they're doing that is, one, for Americans to do it, but it's for the immigrants that are coming. Because if you're going to move together, which is what they want to do, is called get rid of the borders and have like regions, right? So Muslim region in the United States, Hindu region, whatever. You need to merge the society together, right? Just like they did in, I think it was 1942 or 32, saying the Pledge of Allegiance. The pledge has been around since like 1800s, but the Pledge of Allegiance was in response to mass immigration. So they wanted to get everyone on the same path, pro-American, all of that. So the best way to do that, if you're going to have mass migration from different cultures, is you've got to step it up. Just doing it in high school and saying the Pledge of Allegiance isn't going to cut it anymore. So if you do conscription, right, and force them into, in essence, like Declan from Israel, and you make them go into the military, right, some sort of academy, either after high school or part of high school, you're going to merge them and have a set goal. So that's what the trans thing is to remove the female and male thing and get a conscription and draft going for both men and women. That's why they're merging that. But the U.S. has all of this planned. Don't be worried about it. That I want to say shield is the immigrants, because once they're here, if we go to war and China kills any of them, they've just blown BRICS up. So that's the protection.
I gotta say, you broke that down so eloquently. While you were talking, I was like putting up links to what you were saying. So in the chat and top of the room, 1.2 billion climate refugees by 2050. Insane. In the Discord, I put a lot of these links as well. A requirement for women to register for a draft is back on the table in the annual defense bill. This was back in June 2022. Wow.
That's also why they are, sorry.
No, go ahead, continue.
That's why they're doing sexual, doing echo.
We couldn't hear you. Did you go out?
No, there's an echo because when you're off mute, there's a like feedback or whatever. It echoes. That's why they're sexualizing children. It's for multiple reasons, but the other is to, in essence, make them into adults. So if they're 12 and they can decide their own sex and they can get their own medical procedures, they're in essence adults. What can adults do? Right? They can fight. They can go to war. They can vote. That's the bigger thing, right? So they can do all the things that adults do. That's why they're lowering the age. And one of those will also be, I'm assuming, to go to war or to go to work, because they need them here, not just being idle. They need them to go into production, in essence, to fix inflation and increase our GDP. And then you said something else. I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, I know, like, for me, like, when I joined the military, this was, over 8 years ago. Yeah, a lot of the people I was serving with, like, when I was in basic, they were a lot of immigrants. And I mean, like, fresh off the boat. Fresh off the boat. And when I would ask them, like, what makes you join the military? And they were like, oh, because the United States is giving us citizenship. So as long as we serve up to 2 years in the United States military, we'll get citizenship, right? And they used to actually go and recruit as well. I used to work with some Iranian and an Egyptian guy at a clothing store. And they told me that recruiters had approached them because they speak certain languages that they need in the military.
What happened?
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. So yeah, they needed certain languages in the military. So they have been approached by recruiters to join the military, to be inside of the special intelligence, to be able to translate certain things. And that was because they had an Iranian or they had some type of Egyptian background or Arab or things like that. So yeah, I know, and this was like back in like I said, 2010. This is actually around the time when they had first went into Syria. I remember that's when I had first joined. So with that being said, I was like, okay, wow, our military, the demographic of our military is definitely changing. In fact, and they have uniforms that are dedicated just for like Muslim soldiers, right? Or if you are a Jew, you wear your yarmulke and things like that. They actually have the ACU print. Well, you don't know what ACU, then the military print. And you can wear any type of religious garment that you have and still be within uniform, right? So they're changing our uniform. Our military to, it seemed like almost like an international military. It's not this patriotic American pride thing that they used to teach. It seems like it's becoming like a global military. Is that what you're seeing, U.S. ministry?
Yeah, so that's why the flag, they've, I guess, bastardized the LGBT flag with stripes and colors and circles or whatever the hell's going on with it, is in essence a mix of, there is, in essence, I said this about in 2021, January, first United States is done. It's over with. So it's going to be broken up into regions. And the best thing to look at is go look at Germany.
Can you say that date? Can you say that date one more time?
Yes, sometime in maybe January 2021, April 2021. If you Google my name and Twitter and then the word, what did I use? Like first United States, maybe like 1ST, you'll find the blog post or the tweet. I said first United States is done a couple years ago. Anyway, it's going to be a region, and I was saying that the best thing to do is go look at Germany before unification. That's what the United States is going to look like. That's what pretty much Europe's going to look like, even UK. So it'll be based on cultural regions, religious regions. So imagine United States being broken up into, a few Muslim states, some Hindu states, current American states, things like that. That's how the United States will be broken up. And you're seeing that in Europe or in the UK. I'm here now. But the LTN, low traffic neighborhoods, it's in essence a nice way of saying a no-go zone. Oh, sorry, my son's waking up. I gotta go take care of him.
Okay, no problem. Wow. What do y'all think about that? The United States breaking up to regions, because we were just talking about that. Even if China was to kind of start seeping themselves deeper into the infrastructure, it's a possibility that they can start reverting the 50 states.
I was just saying, you were just literally saying that, and you were just saying how Somalians were bringing in through the church. Like, a lot of stuff y'all saying is like coming full circle. So I'm really interested.
I know, right? Like, it's, yeah, like, that's why I tell people, like, just for a second, like, put your differences aside and just, like, have a conversation. Like, I would have never known Africans were coming through the church if I had not had that conversation. And I asked, I just asked simply, like, how do you guys, get here? And it's not everybody's situation. But for the ones I was talking to, especially if they're coming from the Congo, a lot of them are coming through the church. And this one girl, I could tell she was a little bothered about us asking a question, but I was like, girl, we just trying to know. Like, it's our country, and a lot of times we're in the dark about what's going on. We don't know. So now that we have the tools to talk to different people from around the country, I don't live in Nebraska, but I would love to know, how did you get to Nebraska? And you're a African that just got here. How did you get here? And she had said that her family, they were underneath the Lutheran Church, and the Lutheran Church, they sponsor these families to come to America. Just last week, while I was speaking to another guy, his family's in Texas. And I asked him the same thing, how does your family get to Texas from Africa, from the Congo? Because they were coming out of war in the Congo. He was like, we came through the church, the non-denominational church. They what they do first is they take us to Northern Africa, like Egypt or somewhere, and then you do your process and paperwork there. You stay there for like a year or two, and then from there they'll designate an area in America they're going to ship you to, right? So kind of going into what U.S. is saying about these designated areas, eventually could possibly turn into these states or regions or territories just for those particular cultural people.
That makes so much sense, because I was literally telling y'all they have full communities in these areas. Like, that's amazing to me. And I was wondering how did they establish full communities in these, and they'll like be white cities. Like, they'll be over by white cities, but they'll have legit like their own restaurants. The restaurants and just hangout spots, and that's amazing. Good work.
Yeah. Hey, we gotta wake it up, right? Because like I said, a lot of these people, they're not coming here, not saying they don't want to be here, but they're not coming here because, it's just like, we just come in. No, a lot of them, some of them don't have a choice. Some of them, their best bet is to come here. But when they come here, they're designated areas to come to. That's why you can look at places like Minnesota and you just see a large booming Somali population that's just coming out of there, right? Portland, Maine, I said earlier, you're starting to see a boom of a Somalian, and not even just Somalian, a Congolese population that's coming out of there as well, right? For people who live in certain parts of America, you might not even live around recent immigrants, right? So it sounds crazy to you to hear that there's these territories of people just popping up, like, and they are heavily populated with just their people. I know in New York, we have a lot of different type of territories. We have a section in the Bronx. I promise you, if you come through this section in the Bronx, nothing's in English. I promise you, nothing's in English. I actually had to walk through a neighborhood where I was driving through and I was looking for a nail salon, right? And most of the nail salons was closed. I think it was like a Sunday. And I saw one open, but I was in this like predominant Hispanic area. And I don't really speak a lot of Spanish, but everything was in Spanish. The stores, everybody was speaking Spanish. When you go inside the store, they spoke to you in Spanish. It was just like, I was like, wait, where am I? Right? So these sanctuary cities as well, like you could just see the play. It's so clear when you really look at what they're doing. And once again, like I said, in our military, it does feel like it's very like global. When I tell y'all, when I was serving, I started paying attention to like the people I was serving with. I was serving with Mexicans, I was serving with Africans, I was serving with Caribbeans, but not much. It wasn't a lot of Caribbeans, but it was mainly like Africans and Mexicans and the Middle Eastern recruits. They usually go into special forces, or I'm not forces, intelligence. They don't really use them for combat. I noticed they usually put them in intelligence because they need them for language. Just like Chinese, one of the most trending languages they need in the military is Mandarin, right? So if you speak Mandarin, they want to put you directly in intelligence, right? So you're probably not going to come out the way how we had to go in through the ground, you know. But yeah, when you talk to these people and you ask them like, yo, where'd you come from? And like, how did you get here? Like, what's your story? Da-da-da. And they'll tell you. I personally met people that I've known for years, but I didn't know they came through a caravan. I didn't know that. Right? So remember we were talking about those migrant caravans like that was going on like in the 2000s, early 2000s. Well, that's not the first time those type of things been happening. They've been happening all through the 80s, the 90s, etc. And I like personally know people that I've been like, you know, cool with it for a long time. They're like, yeah, I came through the caravan. I'm like, oh wow. So I know people who came through a caravan. I didn't know that. Right? So it's just so many different ways. Like, you know, I know for like aside of my family, they came by plane, right? They came by plane. America actually called. Like there was some type of I can't tell you how they were doing this because I wasn't there, but for most of the immigrants I know who came in like the 60s and 70s and 50s, there was like some type of call that United States put out, and that's why people started coming here. Right? Like I said, if you're an American citizen, you're not going to see that side of America. You're only seeing what you see in your everyday life in America. You don't know America outside the bubble that most of us live in America, right? But America was calling for people to come here. And it's been like that. Even if you look at like Ellis Island, millions upon millions of people were coming here. And it was changing the demographic. Before that, in the 1800s, there was another call. They don't talk about the migration that happened in the 1800s, where there were free people that were coming here, despite whatever cultural background, they were coming to America. 1800s, 1700s, 1900s, right? And now we're in the 2000s. So every century, there's this call for action, and people come. And the first thing they do is join your military. When those people came off of Ellis Island, they joined the military. It's no different than what we're looking at right now. So a lot of those white people that we fought next to, our grandfathers and stuff fought next to in World War I, World War II, they were like just getting to America. And that was literally their way to become solidified in the United States, was to fight. Right? Once you fight, kind of like what he said about the pledging, besides pledging your allegiance to the military is another way to solidify yourself as a United States citizen, right? So we're just watching history repeat itself again. Like nothing we're seeing is new when we really like look at the grand scheme of things. But I don't know if anyone has any last words. I'm gonna probably go ahead and shut it down. Anybody got last words about what's going on before I shut it down? What do you think? All right, if not, I'm going to catch y'all. As new information comes out, I'm going to try to update, keep everything going. Please join the Discord. I'm going to put the link back in the chat so that if we're not on Clubhouse, you'll always see me like post stuff in the Discord. 1 second. Hold up. So here's a Discord link in the chat. Join the Discord. We'll be posting a lot of information. Also, you can visit my media site, my news site, The Velvet Door. That's the-velvet-door.com. That's also in the Discord. And you can just see a lot of the information I put out about like archaeology and a lot of other findings that's here in North America and etc. I thank you all for being here. Once again, I'm Shanjor. Follow the club, follow the house, the Velvet Door or Beyond the Velvet. This is my new house, and I will keep you guys updated on everything going on. Y'all be safe. Okay, I am done. That was a good room, and I had to record it.